Why do you think you've done so well and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed?
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party, and no one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we picked that up very strongly on the doors for the people who voted Labour for all of their lives.
What's your reflection of the results across the country, mayoral elections, local government elections and so on?
Well, some near misses in mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the north. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we've hit into Labour. But Lincolnshire and Staffordshire show you.
The Labour Party is reeling from a devastating election defeat, one of the most severe in its history, sending shockwaves straight through Westminster. Tensions erupted when party chair Ellie Reeves faced Nick Ferrari on LBC, and under his relentless questioning, her response faltered: "People crave change, but the reality is they want Labour out of power." The loss exposes deep cracks within the party's strategy, messaging, and connection with voters, raising urgent questions about what went wrong and how Labour can rebuild from this crushing setback.
Very much the story of the night, as we expected, won that by-election by just 6 votes. So that is a serious defeat for Labour. Starmer failing his first electoral test, and elsewhere they are picking up council seats a lot. The Tories down at 50 at the moment, so a poor night for them. Labour just about holding, and that seems to be the theme of the night too. They have, however, held on to those mayoralties in Doncaster, North Tyneside and the west of England, despite some really serious opposition from Reform. They are doing very well in second place there and have taken, of course, their first mayoralty. Other patterns we're seeing, apart from the teal tidal wave that we have very much seen tonight, those huge swings to Reform. Fascinating stuff, and you just heard from a very happy Nigel Farage this morning. Reform are taking seats now off both Labour and the Conservatives. They are no longer just the party which is eating into Kemi Badenoch's vote. They are now a headache for both Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch. So that is also going to be a real threat to the chances of a majority for any political party at the next election. If the polls continue like this, we are on course for a hung parliament. Of course, it's very early to be making any of these predictions, but it just goes to show exactly what is going to be done here.
Nigel Farage couldn't hide his grin as he flashed 6 fingers at the cameras, a cheeky celebration of Reform UK's razor-thin triumph. Just 6 votes, but it was enough to wrest the Runan and Hell's-by seat from Labour's long-standing grip, turning a former stronghold into a shocking upset that shook both major parties. The win sent a clear message: Reform UK isn't just making noise, they're emerging as a genuine force challenging the political establishment. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit like, share it, and make sure to subscribe before we dive back in.
I'm not sure there's any suggestion of that at all. Isn't it just a matter of tactical voting, which is something that's happened particularly between Labour and Liberal Democrat voters for a long time? That's just how the voting system works in first past the post, isn't it?
Well, look, I just think that, there needs to be a bit of honesty about it. Robert Jenrick made these comments that seem to be a lot more than just about tactical voting. It was talking about an electoral pact, a coalition of some kind. That's very different just for tactical voting, for example.
How do you explain away what's happened? I mean, you can't blame it all on the Conservatives or on Mike Amesbury, the former Labour MP for Runcorn and Helsby, can you? Because even where you've won mayoral elections, you've lost so much support and it's ended up being a pretty tight race. What that seems to indicate is, surely, that the government is not addressing a lot of the issues that ordinary people up and down the country have got concerns about.
When we were elected to government last July, we were elected on a platform of change. And look, I recognise that people are impatient for change. I'm impatient for that change. The government's impatient for that change. Since coming into government, we have started to deliver on our plan for change. It takes time. NHS waiting lists are down 6 months in a row, but there are still too many people on waiting lists. Take Runcorn, for example. Just last month, we delivered 4 new free breakfast clubs in primary schools. Well, we want to go further and faster. We want every primary school in Runcorn to have a free breakfast club. Just last month, our increase in the national minimum wage means that 3.5 million low-paid workers are getting a pay rise.
What stood out in the recent election wasn't just the vote count. It was the unmistakable signal that Reform UK has moved beyond being a fringe agitator, no matter how hard Starmer tries to dismiss them. Meanwhile, Labour's reaction, particularly to the shocking losses in Runcorn and Helsby, has felt surprisingly muted, almost disconnected. There's been little acknowledgement of the deep frustration and disillusionment simmering among lifelong Labour supporters after just 10 months in power. While emotional intelligence is often touted as essential in politics, what we're witnessing now is a striking absence of it, leaving the party exposed and out of step with its base.
Well, I think what the voters up and down the country, particularly in Labour heartlands, are saying we'd actually like to change the government. And let's have a general election, because, I mean, this is a staggering collapse of a government in just 10 months. I mean, this seat that we've just won, it's the equivalent of winning Hackney South from Diane Abbott.
Right.
And that's the sort of context we're talking about here. And voters have basically reject the lies of the Labour Party, and they've essentially sort of put even deeper into the bin the Tory party, and people are absolutely raging mad about national issues, the 34,000 odd illegals that have crossed the channel since Labour took control, the fact that legal immigration is still completely out of control as well, and people are getting poorer. Net stupid zero is, it's coming to fore, and the unions are now backing reform on net zero. Tony Blair is backing reform on net zero. So look, we're winning all over the place. And
we're witnessing a shift with real force. Voters are done with empty promises and demand honesty, attention, and accountability. For many lifelong Labour supporters, the sense of betrayal runs deep, not just because their voices are ignored, but because decisions under Starmer and Reeves feel completely out of step with Labour's core values. What once seemed like a beacon of hope after years of Conservative austerity now feels unrecognisable to its own base. And this isn't a debate over old Labour versus new Labour, it's a fundamental question of whether this government even represents Labour in any meaningful sense anymore.
Of why Labour lost those key red wall seats.
Well, Julia, let's just say, first of all, losing 300 councillors and several other significant elections this weekend, there are no reasons to be optimistic, as some in the Labour Party have said. Gainey chipping Norton and losing the North is not something to be optimistic about. It's been a disaster. And the reason this has happened, I think the umbilical cord between the Labour Party and its traditional vote was severed when we came out for a second referendum back in 2016-17, which I think we probably discussed at the time.
Labour's strategy under Starmer appeared to hinge on outmanoeuvring Reform UK by edging toward Farage positions, especially on immigration, hoping to mimic them just enough to win breathing room, invest in public services, and secure a big victory in the next election. The plan relied on modest economic growth and slight tax adjustments to make it all work, but it collapsed almost immediately. Local election results revealed voters weren't fooled. Trying to imitate Reform only pushed many to back the original. Meanwhile, traditional Labour supporters bristled at the party's rightward drift, particularly on immigration. When the anticipated economic growth never materialized, the government was left choosing between borrowing or wealth redistribution, awkward under its own fiscal rules. Instead, Starmer's team cut key programs like the winter fuel allowance, national insurance, and disability benefits, hitting the very people Labour claims to defend. Disillusioned voters didn't return to Labour, they opted for change elsewhere, while centralised party control stifled internal debate and drowned out any early warnings. MPs who dare speak out risk losing the whip, leaving Labour looking directionless and morally adrift, trying to outreform Reform UK while leaving the most vulnerable exposed. Voters are noticing, and party members and MPs must step up, not just to rethink strategy, but to reconnect with the grassroots and stop alienating supporters. A clear first move would be scrapping proposed cuts to disability benefits and actually listening to the public. Thursday's poor election results weren't a shock, they've been brewing for years. With multi-party politics now firmly in play, the UK may be on the verge of a major political shift. In the aftermath, Starmer blamed Nigel Farage for offering simple answers and vowed to push harder for change, refusing to make excuses. Farage, meanwhile, is reveling in victories. Reform UK now leads 10 councils and is the largest party in 4 more, with new mayors in Greater Lincolnshire, Hull, and East Yorkshire. The real test is how they wield that power. Farage has floated a UK version of Trump's efficiency-focused DOJA model, aimed at slashing public spending. After Reform's Durham win, he warned council workers concentrating on climate, remote work, or bureaucracy to rethink their priorities, urging a focus on cutting waste, reviewing contracts, shrinking government, and delivering essentials like social care and pothole repairs. When pressed on his party's inexperienced councillors, Deputy Leader Richard Tye framed it as an advantage, admitting mistakes will happen but promising honesty and a fresh, common-sense approach free from entrenched party baggage.
Why do you think you've done so well and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed?
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party, and no one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we picked that up very strongly on the doors for the people who voted Labour for all of their lives.
What's your reflection of the results across the country, mayoral elections, local government elections and so on?
Well, some near misses in mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the North. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we've hit into Labour. But Lincolnshire and Staffordshire show you that in areas the Conservatives have always run, we're making massive progress there too. So it's a phenomenal night for us.
What's your message for Sir Keir Starmer and also for Kemi Badenoch?
Kemi Badenoch, please stay. I mean, please don't resign. We want you to stay on as leader. I'll put some money in if you'd like to keep you there. No, she's got an impossible job. The Conservative Party is split. And what you'll see tomorrow, as the West Country results come in, is you'll see a stack of 2021 Conservative votes will come.
At the end of the day, Reform UK's election surge sends a blunt message to Labour. Things haven't run smoothly since taking the reins in Westminster. If the party wants to prevent another public meltdown, it's time to stop attacking Reform and its voters and start listening to what people truly want. If you're riding this political roller coaster with us, make sure to like the video and hit subscribe for more sharp analysis and fresh, unfiltered perspectives.